Hey guys, what's going on? Andrew coming at you. In this one, I thought it'd be fun to share how I see the United States after living abroad in Sweden for 6 years. I was inspired by a vegan nomad chick, link of her video in the description below. Some of my examples might be the same, some of them might be different, but either way, I think it's interesting to share my perspective. I love America and I'm very proud of being American. But however, I think it's important that I share things that I think we could do better and just different opinions I have after living abroad. I don't consider myself a Democrat or a Republican. I don't identify with any political party. I'm liberal about some things and I'm conservative about others. So I'm not trying to change anyone's political opinion or pick a side. It's just literally about sharing what I think could be better and just things I've noticed. With that being said, I've written some things down here, and number one is going to be stress levels and fear. I believe that my stress levels were much higher in the United States, and I think that people in general living in the U.S. are stressed. We get less time off of work. Most of us drive to work, and I always found driving in the United States to be stressful. I always feel like I'm in a rush. I think our society is always go, 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 go. And to put it in perspective, when I would drink a coffee in Sweden, you sit back, you relax, you have a coffee, you talk to people. I always found like coffee in the United States to mean I'm in the car, I'm driving to work, and I'm rushing, go, go, go. So I think that kind of mentality creates a little bit more stress. When you get less time off of work, when you have bills and expensive more than you would have in Europe, you're just going to be, in my opinion, more stressed. I also think that we live with a little bit higher levels of fear. I just think that goes into media in general, and that could be in any country, but I think that our media tends to focus on the negative, and we just kind of live in a fear of other things. I think we could be afraid to either go outside of the United States because of stories, or just not trust our neighbor as much as I think we should, because I think that, yeah, you shouldn't trust everybody, but I don't think the world is as scary and as dangerous as we are led to believe. Number two is quality of life. I believe that my quality of life is much higher in Sweden than it is in the United States. And if you just want to look for any reason or sign of that, all you got to do is come to Europe and try to see how many elderly people are out moving around as opposed to in the United States. There are many people that I see that are much older. I'm talking late 70s, early 80s, even mid 80s, that I see riding bikes outside, being active outside, and moving around. I have a couple of theories for this, and the first one is probably the universal healthcare one, just simply because, yes, maybe there's a longer wait for health programs. I'm not saying that the Swedish healthcare system is perfect, but when you don't have to worry about paying for healthcare or what it's going to cost as much, I think that you're more likely to go see a doctor when you're sick and you don't let things go. I also think because there's more options to ride bikes and move around and there's more time off, I think the less stress levels on people's lives makes them feel much healthier. Also, in my perspective, I think that the food is much healthier in Sweden. Yes, I can eat unhealthy like I do in the United States, but it costs me a little bit more money to do that. I can't go out and eat all the time like I can in the United States. I have to maybe go out and eat once a week at the most if I'm in Sweden, and I think that that really helps. So I find that I have a great quality of life. Now, I'm paying for my school in the United States on the loans and taxes there, but not having to worry about the healthcare as much. I mean, I still pay a much higher tax rate, but there's so many things. Like in Sweden, you have Alcasa. If you lose your job and you pay into this, you can get 8% of your salary for up to like a year and a half to 2 years. So that's a level of stress I don't worry about as much as well. So that's another thing. Number three is I think about the level and the amount that we consume in the United States as opposed to the rest of the world. I used to love it when I would first go back, and I still do, don't get me wrong. Like, I love hot wings, and I go home, and I eat an insane amount of hot wings. But when I look at how much we consume as a society, I mean, if you go to a Walmart and you try to pick something out in a small quantity, chances are it's going to be way higher than what we can get in Sweden or in other parts of Europe. And although that could be a great thing, I also think about how much we consume. Whether you believe in global warming or not, if you just look at how much we are consuming as Americans, think about the amount of air conditioning we use. The rest of the world doesn't really use air conditioning. Yes, I know you need it, and it can be dangerous if it's quite hot, but at the same time, the amount of energy that we're using to do that is quite high. The amount of cars we have on the road is quite high. If the rest of the world consumed like Americans did, the environment and the planet would be in much worse shape. So I find that as a Swede now, I kind of feel like a Swede. I use things a lot less. I don't need as much, but I'm also okay with that. Like, I don't feel like I have to consume as high. I also can look at America and say that I don't think that all of a sudden we can switch to public transportation, but I hope that the electric car can move much higher in the next 10 years or so, because if we can reduce how much gas we're using on the roads, I think that's going to make a huge difference. If we can find more solar power, that would be awesome. So I hope that we can learn to consume a little bit less. I can see now they're trying to take straws away and plastics away, because the amount of plastic that we're using in the United States, it's not good overall for the world. Like, I don't buy plastic plates in Europe. You don't see that in the same way, and we're not buying plastic plates and plastic cups and throw them away as much as we do in the United States. So I think that that's one thing that we can do to get better. I also wanted to talk about something that I think about that was similar to Vegan Nomad Chick, which is the drug companies. Like, there's so many drug company commercials in the United States for things that you buy. Tell your doctor about this. Tell your doctor about that. And I find it to be quite weird that we do that. The drug companies make a lot of money in the United States, and in Sweden, your doctor is going to recommend something to you if they think it's the best, and not because you saw a show or a program and talked about that. With all that being said, what I love about the United States is simply that you have got companies like Amazon, Apple, just hit $1 trillion. We have these companies that are amazing at making life better for us, making the world better for us. We have self-driving cars being developed by Tesla. We got rocket ships flying up and then landing again. So America is quite amazing in a lot of different things, and is making the world quite a better place over time based on technology and development. But check this out. What if there was an Amazon type deal with healthcare? And what I mean by that, I don't think the United States can have perfect or free healthcare, but I wrote down a solution, in my opinion, that I think would help us out a lot. If we could learn to live with 20% less than what we already have, maybe 20% less, maybe that means we're going to pay 20% more in taxes. If you add up maybe a 10% more in tax rate and then 10% more with what you pay, like sales tax or something like that. Maybe it doesn't have to be that high, but I just mean if we could consume less and pay a little bit of a higher tax rate and get more for that, I think everyone's quality of life would be better. For example, I think the average amount of time people can get off is about 2 weeks. Just imagine what getting people 3 weeks off would do. I know some people get that if they're older, but if you could get 3 weeks off, I think what it would do to your stress levels would be awesome. I also think if we could learn to live with less, like maybe we don't need to have as big of a house, maybe we don't need to consume as much. If we could consume 20% less, it would be better for the environment, and overall it would be better for our happiness. And if we could take the same kind of developments that we do, like I said, with iPhone, with Amazon, and apply that to healthcare, apply that to education. So I'm not saying it needs to be free. I'm not throwing that out there. It might not be financially possible. I've heard many arguments with that. But what if we tried to find the quickest, most efficient way to provide people with healthcare? What if we try to do the most efficient, best way to apply people with the better education? What if we apply the same thing to college and university? We have the resources in America to do so much, and I think we've just decided that this isn't possible, that we can't do it. But my perspective has changed so much. I think we can. I think it's very possible, and I hope we can. So that being said, again, I love America. This is just how I see that things could be different. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you want to, you're more than welcome to subscribe to my channel, watch more videos and content on this. And feel free to write what you think below in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.